The Power of Imagination and Wisdom, a Motivational Speech. Our brains are remarkable, but they also fall into lazy habits of thinking. If left unchecked, the mind takes shortcuts, settles for the obvious, and avoids deeper reflection. That's why we must train ourselves to think differently, to push past the ordinary. As Albert Einstein once said, logic will get you from A to Z, but imagination will get you everywhere. Think about that. Logic is like a map, it shows you the roads that already exist. But imagination? That's what builds bridges where no roads exist. Every great discovery, every innovation, every act of progress was born not from logic alone, but from the bold imagination of someone who dared to ask, what if? And yet, despite our potential, there are two things that seem infinite, the universe, and human foolishness. And Einstein added, I'm not sure about the universe. He wasn't insulting humanity. He was reminding us that ignorance spreads easily when people stop questioning, stop learning, and stop thinking for themselves. Success is often glorified in our world, but Einstein gave us a different perspective. Try not to become a person of success. Rather, become a person of value. Success is measured by titles, money, recognition. Value, on the other hand, is measured by the impact you leave on others. A successful person may be remembered for their wealth, but a person of value is remembered for their wisdom, their kindness, and the lives they've changed. Wisdom is not something handed to us in school. Einstein believed, wisdom is not a product of schooling but of the lifelong attempt to acquire it. Think of the people you admire most. Are they the ones who stopped learning after graduation? Or are they the ones who kept growing, kept asking, kept seeking? True wisdom is not a certificate, it's a mindset. And what makes life meaningful? It is not self-centered ambition. Einstein put it simply, only a life lived for others is a life worthwhile. When you help someone in need, when you lift another person, when you share your knowledge, you create ripples that outlast you. He also spoke about solitude, something many of us fear. He said, I live in that solitude which is painful in youth, but delicious in the years of maturity. When we are young, being alone feels like punishment. But with time, solitude becomes a gift, a chance to reflect, create, and find peace within ourselves. There are only two ways to live, he said, one is as though nothing is a miracle. The other is as though everything is a miracle. Imagine if you lived every day seeing the extraordinary in the ordinary. The sunrise, the laughter of a child, even the chance to breathe deeply, miracles are everywhere, if only we train ourselves to see them. Einstein also believed in simplicity. If you can't explain it to a 6-year-old, you don't understand it yourself. True knowledge is not in using big words or complex theories, it's in being able to share ideas so simply that even a child can grasp them. On science and faith, he said, science without religion is lame, religion without science is blind. What he meant was balance. Knowledge and belief, reason and wonder, they are not enemies, but partners. And when life gets difficult, he compared it to riding a bicycle, to keep your balance, you must keep moving. No matter the struggle, momentum is key. As long as you keep pedaling forward, balance will come. Einstein was humble about his own brilliance. It's not that I'm so smart, he said, but I stay with the questions much longer. Genius is not instant answers, it's patience, persistence, and refusing to give up when solutions don't come easily. For parents, he offered timeless advice. If you want your children to be intelligent, read them fairy tales. If you want them to be more intelligent, read them more fairy tales. Stories ignite imagination. And imagination builds creativity, empathy, and problem-solving, things far more important than memorizing facts. Mistakes, too, were something he welcomed. Anyone who has never made a mistake has never tried anything new. Failure is not the enemy, it is evidence of effort. Each mistake teaches us something no textbook can. He drew a distinction between cleverness and wisdom. A clever person solves a problem. A wise person avoids it. Intelligence is not about fixing everything, it's about foresight, prevention, and the discipline to avoid needless conflict. He also believed that resilience is intelligence. You never fail until you stop trying. And the measure of intelligence is the ability to change. Adaptation is survival. The ability to adjust, evolve, and grow is a sign of true strength. But Einstein also warned us, the world is a dangerous place to live, not because of the people who are evil, but because of the people who don't do anything about it. Silence in the face of wrong is complicity. It is not enough to avoid evil, you must also stand against it. On joy, he advised, the best way to cheer yourself is to cheer somebody else up. Happiness is rarely found by chasing it for yourself, it comes naturally when you give it to others. On courage, he said, the woman who walks alone is likely to find herself in places no one has ever been before. To walk alone is to defy expectations, to embrace independence, and to discover new paths. On growth, I must be willing to give up what I am in order to become what I will be. Transformation requires sacrifice. You cannot step into your future while clinging to your past. On genius, genius is 1% talent and 99% hard work. We glorify talent, but the truth is, persistence outshines natural ability every time. On happiness, if you want to live a happy life, tie it to a goal, not to people or things. Relationships and possessions change, but a purpose, a goal, anchors you through every season. He dismissed fear of the future. I never think of the future, it comes soon enough. Worry steals your present, but the future will arrive whether you stress over it or not. On problem solving, he offered brilliance. If I had an hour to solve a problem, I'd spend 55 minutes thinking about the problem and 5 minutes thinking about the solution. The quality of the solution depends on how deeply you understand the problem. And finally, he gave us 3 warnings. An intelligent person avoids 3 things in life: in youth, lust; in maturity, quarrelsomeness; in old age, greed. In each stage of life, a different temptation distracts us from wisdom. At the heart of it all, he reminded us that the only real valuable thing is intuition. And that the true sign of intelligence is not knowledge but imagination. Einstein spoke to everyone the same way, whether they were a janitor or a university president. And perhaps that is the greatest lesson of all: true wisdom is humble, accessible, and shared freely. So, let us remember, imagination is power. Curiosity is strength. Value is greater than success. And a life lived for others is a life worth living.